Hey everyone, welcome back. In this crash course, we're going to learn Sass by building this complete website which has this home page, which we got some buttons and some call to action, then this about and our posts with these items inside of them step by step. This won't be just theory, we'll build something cool, learning variables, mixins, includes, nestings, extends, and other things. So if you're a web developer, tired of writing messy, repetitive CSS, Sass is going to change the game for you. Before we start learning Sass, we need to know two things, which are basics of HTML and basics of CSS to go with this. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to catch the other videos and other tutorials too. Now let's jump into the video. Here we got our empty VS Code right here, which I connected that to a folder. And the first thing that we need to have is adding a compiler for our Sass, because Sass is an extension to CSS and it's a CSS preprocessor. And first, let's come into our extensions part. And here, if you search this live Sass, which you can see we got right here, if we click on this, you can see we got this extension, which is live Sass compiler, which you need to install this to working with Sass. And after you install this, I want you to install this live server too, because this is basically going to change anything we change in our files for us immediately in the web page that we're showing in our browser. So after installing these two items and extensions, let's come into the other files and start our coding by building our first file, which is this index.html, of course. And inside of this, we're going to have our simple basic HTML right here. Let's say for the title, we want this to be this web dev right here. And after having this, we have this simple H1 of test right here. You can see here we got this go live, which if we press, we're going to have our web page right here, which I'm going to move this to this desktop right here and make this full screen. And in the other side, we're going to have our codes right here. Now let's have another folder here called the styles, and inside of this we're going to create our first Sass file, which is going to be the name of our file and the thing that we want, followed by extension of SASS, and this is going to be our Sass file for us. And pay attention, when we inside of this Sass file, you can see here at the bottom of our VS Code we're going to see this watch Sass button right here, and if we click on this, you can see in our terminal it's going to run and create some files for us, which is this style.css.map, which is basically the thing that helps our compiler to compile our Sass file into our CSS. And this CSS is going to be the thing that we're going to attach to our HTML. And basically, the Sass is going to compile this CSS right here, and then we use this in our web page. So let's add our CSS right here. We use this link, then this CSS, and the href is going to be this styles, and inside of that this styles.css. And now let's start by having our nav bar at the top of our web page. So we want to have this now, which inside of that we want to have, of course, this UL, and inside of that we want to have, let's say, 3 list items. So we're going to have these items here, and of course we need to have these anchor tags here because this is going to be nav bar of our web page. So we should have the option to go to other pages. So the first one is going to be this index.html, which we have, and let's say this is going to be our home page. Then let's say here we got another anchor tag, which is going to target our about.html, which we have not created yet. And this is going to be about, of course. And at the third one, let's say this is going to be our posts. Again, this HTML and this posts. Now, if we come into our web page, you can see we got these little things right here, but we need to fix that using our Sass and style. The first topic in the Sass that we want to talk about is going to be our variables. You know, in the CSS, we got our variables by having this root, and inside of this, we can declare our variables. But the way that we're going to have our variables in Sass is going to be a little bit different. And that is going to be like this. We put this $sign at the first of our variable, and then we type the name of our variable. And if you see this terminal coming up, it's because of our Sass compiler. So it's better to have this right here, just like this. And here, after this $sign, we're going to put the name of our variable. And basically, if you don't know what variables are something like a bucket that we hold that and we name that bucket. And whenever we want the things inside of that bucket, if we call and grab that bucket, the things inside of that bucket is going to be available for us. So here, let's say our variable's name is going to be this theme column. And pay attention, in the Sass, doesn't matter for you to use this hyphen or this underline. Both of them are going to compile and be the same. And then after you put this variable's name right here, of course, you're going to have this double dots right here. And then here, you pass the value that we want. For example, in our case, it's going to be this 0084FF. And now, whenever I want to use this color, I simply use this same color, and this is going to do the work for us. And if you check your styles.css right now, you can see nothing is here because we have not done anything to our web page. But now, if we come and target one of our elements, for example, let's say we want to get rid of all of the default margins that we have here in our web page, the way that we're going to do that, you know, our star selector, which is going to grab all of the things for us. And in the Sass, you don't need to have these curly braces. What you need to do is simply press enter here and move this by a tab or space. And here, whatever you put, it's going to apply to your web page. For example, let's say we want to have this background to be black. Now, if we come here, you can see we got that work. And pay attention, in Sass, we don't need to use semicolons here too. So it doesn't matter to you put this or not. You can use multiple other things right here. For example, let's say we want to have this padding of 5 rem here. You can see if you come here, you got these items right here. But the way that we're going to do this is not having that background, is having this margin to be this 0. And then we want to use this font family to be this area. And now if we come back here, you can see it got changed a little bit. And after we got these items, if you come to this style.css, you can see it got generated this CSS and compiled the Sass code into the CSS code right here, which makes our margin to 0 and makes the font family to this Arial right here. So after having these items, let's come and select our nav tag right here. The way that we're going to do this is again by having this. Pay attention, the selectors are both in the same in the CSS and Sass. You use tags like this, you use classes like this, and if you want to target IDs, you simply pass the sharp and then the ID. But here, let's have our nav. First, let's use our background to be our variable. And the way that we're going to use our variable is not like CSS. We don't have this var and then the name of our variable. We simply pass the $sign right here and then the name of our variable. And now if we come, you can see we got our style showing just like this. After having this, let's say we want to have some padding at the top and bottom. So we put 1 rem right here and 0 for the sides. This is good. And let's use flexbox right here. So we use this display flex and we use this justify content to be center. And if we come here, this is the thing that we got until now. But another cool thing that we got in Sass is having our nested selectors. You know, if we want to select, for example, our UL tag inside of our nav, if we use CSS, we should use selector like this, nav, and inside of that, UL. But because we're using Sass, we don't need to do that anymore. Inside of our nav, which is going to be this part which has this space before it, if we put this UL right here, we're going to grab and select all of the unordered lists and UL tags inside of this nav. And by having this again is going to have its properties, one step and one tab, move the right side. So here is the thing that we're going to code. And if we use, for example, this display to be flex right here too, if we come here, you can see this has got applied right here. After having having that, let's actually get rid of this list style. So we use this none. Let's have the width will be 50%. And if we use this justify content to space around, you can see we got these items right here. Actually, let's make them bold. So we use this font dash weight and we use this bold right here. And if we come here, you can see those are bold. And now let's target the anchor tags too. Now, the way that we're going to do this is we want to grab all of the anchor tags inside of UL. So when we are in the second step and inside of UL, we're going to have this anchor tag right here. And then we move one step forward. So another spacing and another tab here. And then here we can change the style of this anchor tag. For example, let's have this text decoration to be none. And let's make the color of that to the white. And now if we check, this is the thing that we got until now. Now let's come into our HTML and start coding a little bit of HTML for us. First thing is we're going to have our section after our nav. So we're going to have this section and I want to have this with the ID of whole page. And then inside of this, let's say we want to have this simple div with the ID of D1 and another div with the ID of D2, just like this. And then inside of this div1, let's say we want to have this H1, which has this lorem 3, for example. After this H1, let's say we got some paragraph. I think 30 words is enough here. If this, oh, I have misspelled this, lorem 30, this is enough for us. And after this, let's say we want to have two buttons right here, which first one is going to be the sign in and the second one is going to be sign up. And for our second div, let's say we want to have simple image right here. So we use our image and let's add our image here. I'm going to copy that from my folder and this is the image that we want to use. And if you want this image, I'm going to put all of this codes in the GitHub repository and give the link for you in the description. So let's say here we're going to have another folder. We got this assets and our image should be inside of this item. Actually, we can close the styles one here too. And now here the source for that is going to be this /assets and this web development.png. And here we need to pass this web dev image too. Now if we come here, you can see we got this ugly looking web page right here. So let's come and style these items. First, we're going to target our home page. So pay attention, we should come outside of this A, this UL, and this now. And we should come right here at the base of our file, because in Sass, this kind of brackets and partitions are going to identify and process by this space that we have. So here we're going to have this section with the ID of homepage right here. So we got this homepage, of course, and here we can style that. First thing, I'm going to use this display to be this flex because I want my items to be next to each other. Then we can use this justify content to space evenly these two items, and we can use this align items to be centered too. And if we come here, you can see we got this kind of thing until now. And then we want to select divs inside of our home page to have this width of, for example, 600 pixels, which if we come here, you can see this is the thing, but our image is not working. So for that, let's have another image right here, which this means we want the image which are inside of the divs, which these divs are inside of our home page. And let's say we want to make the width of this 100%. Now, if we come here, you can see this is the thing that we got until now. And actually, let's have another margin after our nav. So if we come here, after our justified content, let's have this margin bottom to be, let's say, 7 rem. And now if we come here, you can see this is a little bit better than before. And after this, let's target our D1, which is going to be this div right here, and start coding the things inside of that. So because it's ID, we use this sharp and then this D1. And then inside of this item, we're going to have our H1 as well as our paragraph tag. And for the H1, we want to make the font size be, let's say, 2 rem here. And let's say we want to have this margin bottom be again this 2 rem. And we can come here into our paragraph and actually let's have the margin for this item too. But instead of having same value for the all sides, we're going to have 0 for the top, 0 for the right, 2 rem for the bottom, and 1 rem for the left. so it comes a little bit right, so we see this inside of this part. This is good. And now what we got is going to be our buttons. So again, we should come here at base of our codes, and here we should grab this button that we got here, and let's start doing our works with this, which is this padding. Let's say we want to have half rem for the top and bottom and 2 rem for the sides. Let's have our font size to be 1 rem here. We can have our font weight to be this bold, which is this thing until now. Now let's make the background to the theme color that we got earlier. So this is it. And actually color should be white here, so it shows a little bit prettier. And let's change border too. So we got our border to be 2 pixel solid, and then our theme color here too. And now if we come here, you can see these are our buttons, and we can have another border radius here too, just like this. I guess 5 pixel is enough. Now, another thing that we can have with the Sass, which is very awesome, is let's say we want to change the colors by the pseudo of power. So for having that, instead of having this button right here and then having this hover right here and start coding right here, the thing that we're going to do inside of this button, we're going to have another space. So we got another tab. So we go inside of this button, and here we use this and symbol right here, and here we can use our pseudo items here too. So if we have this hover, for example, let's say we got this background of black. When we hover on it, if we come here, we hover on this, you can see our background is going to be this black, and this is the way that we can deal with this. So when we hovering, the first thing that we're going to do is having this cursor to be this pointer. Then after this, we're going to have our background be this white, and after this item, we should have the color of our text to be this theme color. So when we hovering on this should be something like this, inverting the colors for us. And actually we can have some box shadows here too, so we don't have any X and Y's. We got 10 pixel here, and let's use this theme color here too. Now if we come, you can see this is our buttons, and actually we can add transition to this. So here let's come and use this transition. We select all, is in, and let's say 0.3 seconds. Now if we do this is the thing that's going on. But let's say here, we want to make our buttons different. We want this to be in some other styles and this be different than that, and not both of them to be same. To do that, what we can do is having our pseudo elements here, which we can use again this and right here. And this time we want to grab the button, which is the last child, which is going to be this item right here for us. If we make the background of this to this black, this is going to come and replace this background that we got right here. So this time the background of this is going to be this black. But we can do the style that we want, which is not this background black. Actually, we want to make background this white. And then let's have this color be our theme color again. And now basically this is going to be as the same style as this one's hovering. And when we got out, this should be changing. But let's change the hover effect and this item too. So inside of this, again, we can use this and symbol. And here we can have this hover. And inside of this, let's say we want to have background of black, for example. You can see this is working, but we don't really want to do anything here with this hover. And now after having our first section like this, let's come and do another thing here in our homepage, which is going to be this div with the class name of banner, which this is going to be h3 here. Let's say we want to have this. If you want to see posts, click in the button below. And after having this, let's say we want to have this anchor tag here, which is going to point to our posts.html, of course, which we're going to create in minutes. And let's say inside of this anchor tag, we're going to have this button which says go to the posts. Now, if we come here, this is the thing that we got. Actually, we need to move that out of our section. So this is going to be like this. Yes, this is it. And actually, let's change this class to this ID. So we want only one of this. Yes, that's good. Now we can come here into our style.sass. We should come into the out of anything else. Here, we're going to grab this banner that we got created right here. And after we targeting that, let's use this background color be our theme color. We can have some margins. Let's say 4 rem for the top and bottom and 10 rem for the sides. We can have this border radius of 10 pixels here. It's good to have this padding of 1 rem too. We should make the color to white so we can see what's going on. And let's at last make this text aligned to be center. Now this is good, but if we have this height here, let's say 128 cells, and we have to select all of the items inside of our banner and child of them to have the simple margin of 1 rem, that should look like this, which is good. And pay attention because we got our button styles right here and above of our this, so this is our buttons. Button here is going to do the same thing for us. But let's say here we have this box shadow of theme color, but here we can't see that because the background of our banner is the same as our theme color. So if we want to change that, here inside of our banner, pay attention, after this star, we should come here, not inside of that star. We want to have the buttons inside of our banner. If we hover on them, we got our box shadow again, 0 for the X and Y axis, 10 pixels for the blur, and here instead of that theme color, we should use this white. And now this time if we come here, you can see we got this thing coming just like this. Now after having complete of this home page, let's come into our about page, which you can see here we don't have that right now, and start coding that page. So for that, here at the base level, I want to create another folder here with the name of page, and inside of this I want to have this about.html. And when we have this styles, you can see we got this style.css for all of our homepage items. But let's say we want to use all of those items inside of our about.html. The thing is we can link both of this style.css right here. And if we want to have another CSS for this, so let's actually make this folder here global here. So all of these items should go inside of this, and inside of this style, let's say we have another folder which is this about, which inside of this again we got this about styles.sass, which we're going to watch again and compile all of things inside of this. But here in our about page, if we have this simple HTML template, we can have this link CSS to refer to this styles, and inside of that one time for this about and styles.sass, actually CSS, which we have not created yet, and one time for the globe. But if we want to use Sass, we can have this import do the same for us. So we use this @ sign right here, and then we use this import, and the file path that we're going to give to this is going to be inside of this string. So here we select this global, and inside of this the style. And now by having this, if we come here, actually because we moved our CSS, this got a little messy. So let's use this global here and then style.css. This should do the work. And if we come to about, which we should change this items here too, so this page/about, and if we come here again, go back and again click on this about. Why this is not working? Right, let's use test. We should have this like this, and now this should work just like this. And now, for example, let's test our about page to see if by having only importing this, all of these items have worked or not. So inside of our body, let's say we got our simple button with test inside of that, which if we come this about, you can see this is going to work because we have imported all of these styles that we coded here in the global part into this about.sass just by having this simple and single line right here. And you can do this by having some, for example, files for variables, which is this variables.sass, for example, having some variables right here, which in our case, it's this theme color right right here, but in some other case, there might be several ones, and you can import these variables into all of other items, which is very useful to maintain your codes. Now let's get rid of these two files here. And now let's come here into the about.sass. Let's close our index.html and our global styles. And we don't need this style.css. This is basically the translate version of our Sass style in CSS. And here we're going to have our about.html right here and our Sass right here. Actually, in the about page, we don't want lots of things. So here, let's say first we're going to have this section to have this ID about, and inside of this, let's have this h1 about us right here. Then let's say we got this lorem 300. We check this is the text for us, and let's come into our style and start styling this. So we're going to select our about ID right here. We want the width to be 800 pixels here. We want text align to be center, and let's have this display to be blocked, and our margin be this 0 and auto, so we move that into middle just like this. And let's actually have our navbar from our index.html here too, so we simply copy this and paste that above of our section and inside of our body. So this is it. Now we can come to our home, which is not working because we're now in our page/about.html, and if we want to come to this index.html, we should use this double dot and then this slash. So if we use this again, we can come here and go to about again, and let's have some spaces here too. So here in about styles, inside of our about, we want h1s inside of this, have this margin of 1 rem for top and bottom and 0 for the sides. Now this is good. Now let's come and create this posts page that we got. So we're going to have another file here, posts.html. Of course, we got our default HTML right here. Let's grab our navbar and put that in our posts too. So inside of our body, we should have this, which actually this should be different. What we can do is let's move all of them into our base folder and get rid of this page folder right here. If we want to fix these items in our about, we get rid of this. We got our index HTML right here. In our index, we don't have this page. Now if we check home, about, and posts, should do the thing, but pay attention here in the posts, we don't have the styles. So let's fix this. Here in styles, let's create another folder. This is going to be post styles. So we got this post. Inside of this, we're going to have this post style.sass. And here again, we want to import this global and style inside of that. And now let's come here and import the CSS file. So we got this link CSS, and the address is going to be /styles, this post, and post style.css. Now if we come, you can see we got our results right here, which this is not working because we got this page here. So we get rid of these items. Now if we come back again, this is home, about, and posts. And now let's come and create our posts. The first thing that we're going to have here after our navbar is section with the ID of posts page right here. And inside of this, let's say we want to have this div with the class name of post here. So we got this. Inside of this, we want to have this h1, which is our title. Then we can have our another div here, which inside of this, we can have our paragraph, of course, with let's say lorem 10. We can type lorem 10 right here. So we got some sample text. And at the last, let's say we got another button right here, which has this more text inside. Now, if we come, this is our simple thing here, but we don't want that be in that style. And actually, we want 3 posts. So let's make this 3 times. Now, if we come again, this is our 3 posts, but let's get rid of these things right here. We don't need this index.html anymore. And let's come into style of our post page. So at the first, as before, we select our posts page just like this. Let's use this flex box here too. So these items be at the same level. And why that's not working? Because we need to have this posts page page and not post page. This is it. After this, let's use this justified content to space around. And now we should see something like this. And let's start styling our post. So inside of this, we want to grab the items with the class name of post, have the background of our variable, which is the theme color. And you can see we got that. Let's say we make the width to 400 pixels. We're going to have this border radius, 10 pixel is good here. Then the text align the centers, so our items come to the center just like this. And we can have actually some paddings here too. So let's say we add this one rem padding around of our items. And inside of our posts, we want to grab our H1s and make the margin of these items to 1 rem at the top and bottom and 0 in the sides. So we got some more styles here. Now let's select our div. Here we're going to have another padding of 1 rem all around of our paragraph. And let's actually make background of this to the white color right here. And we should have some border radius here too. So this border radius, let's say again 10 pixel right here. This is it until now. And we can have this margin bottom of 1 rem here too. So we got some spaces between these two items. And let's fix the color of our titles and H1s. So this is going to have this color white here, just right here. But let's say we want the second one and middle one to be different than these two items. How we can do that is using our pseudo items, which we need to come to our posts. So we now inside of our posts, and then we use again our and symbol. And then here we use this nth child thing that we got here, and we pass this to, which this is going to grab the second item of our post, which is second item in our order. So inside of this, we can have again this background of, let's say, white. Let's say we have some border of 3 pixels solid, and this theme color, you can see this has changed, but our H1 has disappeared too. So H1 inside of this should have this color of theme color 2. This is nice. And let's fix div 2. So the div inside of not H1 actually inside of post, and actually second post, we add this border of again 3 pixel solid theme color, which we can check here. And you can see now these items has changed, which we can see here. And you can see now the second item is different than these two items. But let's say we want to make some parts of these texts highlighted and, for example, bold red, but in different places. So we don't want to use the same template and same thing for all of these. What we can do is using the mixins in Sass, which these are the things like functions that we can reuse again many times that we want. For example, let's say here we're going to have this text mixin right here. We don't want these parentheses here. And here, let's say we want to use this color to be red and this font weight to be this bolder. And we can make the font size to 1 rem here too. Now, after we got this, it doesn't matter where we put this mixin and this text, it's going to apply to the thing. For example, here in our posts inside of our div, if we want to use that, we use this @ sign again. This time we use this include and then the name of our mixin, which is this text. And by having this, you can see all of the text has been read. So this itself is going to handle all of these items for us. And what we need to do is include this thing for the part that we want. And pay attention, we can use some dynamic things here too. If we put these parentheses right here in our mixins, we can have some variables here, which we can use inside up here. And when we want to use this, we can pass the value to these items. What I mean is, let's say here we got this color right here, and here instead of having this color, we use this color. If you think of we don't have this color in our variables, this is not actually the global variable. This is going to work only inside of our mixin, and what this tells us is what we have inside of this parentheses. We want to make that equal to this color that we got right here and make the color of our text to this color that we pass. So now here, let's say here in our div, we want to use this text And let's say we want to use the same thing here in the H1 too. So again, we have this include of text right here. But this time, these two items has these parentheses. For example, for the div, let's say we want this to be green right here. But for the H1, let's say we want this to be orange. And pay attention, if you got error right here after putting this, it's because mixin should be at the top of our items and not the below. That sometimes work and sometimes not. But the best way is to use that at the top of our files. Now this time, this is worked, and because here we got this orange for the H1 and green for the div, if we check here, you can see this is going to be orange and this is going to be green. And why this is not changed, it's because after having this color right here, inside of here, we have changed the color of that right here. But again, we can use the same thing here too. So we use this include, and the name of our mixin is this text, of course. And let's say we want this one to be black, for example. Now you can see we got changed this item here too. And pay attention, you can use mixins including other mixins inside of it. What I mean is, let's say here we have another mixin, which name of this is mx1. And inside of this, we're going to have the same things that we got right here. So again, we include this mixin right here. So we have this include of our mixin, which is this text. And let's say we want to make the background of this to this gray. And by having this here, for example, in the H1, if we want to use that, you can see if we use this mx1 and come here, we don't have anything right here because we got this color and we should pass some color to this text. But here we don't have any color, but maybe we want a default color to be here. So we don't want to put these parentheses anytime. The way that we can do is when we defining our mixins, we use this double columns and then the name of the color. For example, let's say the base color of these items is going to be this white. And now this time, if we come here, you can see we got our mixin working as our mx1, which makes the background of these items this gray color. And then the text inside of these items is going to have this mixin of text, which we have defined and included that here in our H1, and the same thing in our div, which is going to give these items green colors and this item's default value of white. But because here we used again these parentheses and past this black color here, this one is going to be this black too. And now let's get rid of these mixins that we put right here because we don't need those items in our design. So let's have these items as comment. So this is our basic things. And let's say here, after our posts page section, we want to have another, for example, big post right here. So we got this as with the name of big post, which inside of this, we're going to have another H1 again, which is going to have 3 words inside of it. Then we're going to have this paragraph, which let's say it's going to have 50 words inside. And this is all of the things that we need. If we come here, you can see this is the way that it's showing to us, but we don't want that item. So we're going to target our big post right here in our Sass file. Pay attention, we should be outside of our posts page and in the main file and global scope. So we're going to have this big posts. And after we selecting that, let's come here and make the post and all of the things inside of that to our base level and not inside of our posts page, because our post class is only available in our post section. So this should work as same as before. But now here, let's say we want to have our big post and we want to have all of the things that we got for our posts inside of this big post too. The thing that we can do is, of course, Here, when we got our big post, we can add another post here too. So this includes those items, and we can extend other things with this big post, but we can do the same thing with this Sass lower items of class names and classes for our tags. It's very better and clean code, and we can maintain this better. And the way that we're going to do this is having this extend, and then we use this dot post. And by having that, you can see this big post is going to wrap and have all of the things that this post have, but we can have another items here too. For example, let's say we can have this margin of 1 rem for the top and bottom and auto for the sides, which this makes this into this middle parts right here. And actually, we can change the width of that. And pay attention, this is going to override those items that we had before. So for example, this width of 800 pixels is going to replace this width of 400 pixels. And basically, our big post is going to have all of the other things as same as posts, but instead of this width and margin, which we have changed right here. And now you can see here we have this home with different buttons. We can go to posts. Here is our posts. Here is our about page. And this is it, your first project with Sass. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next ones.